economy has also been growing. The economy of fraud. And you will hear in the documentary one fascinating insight that if you consider digital fraud, as far as the global economies are concerned, its value will place it as the third largest economy in the world, behind the United States and China. Wait for that documentary. Fraud today is no longer just someone stealing your money. It is clone websites, like the one that exploited my vulnerabilities, fake merchants, social engineering, phishing, identity theft, investment scams, account takeovers, business email compromise, sophisticated criminal networks exploiting the same technologies that are transforming our economy. The question is no longer whether fraud exists, it is whether fraud could begin to slow Ghana's digital future. So to help frame this conversation and tonight's conversation, our team has spent the past several months speaking to regulators, economic experts, fintech leaders, merchants, victims, and investigators. The result is a special documentary produced exclusively for tonight's forum. It explores one central question: can Ghana build a truly digital economy if people no longer trust digital transactions? Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to present the premiere of The Trust Crisis: Why Fraud is Holding Back Ghana's Digital Economy. We'll return after you've enjoyed it.
Within minutes, your money is gone. You can't get it back.
I didn't think it would happen to me, but it happened to me. And if it's happened to me, it can happen to anybody.
It's going to get bigger. That is the honest truth.
Ghana is changing, quietly but rapidly. From markets to mobile phones, from cash to code, money is no longer just carried, it moves.
The digital economy, based on digital apps, technologies, is expected to grow faster than the traditional economy.
Hey guys, let me tell you guys how I was scammed. And my MTN Momo wallet was literally emptied. I was very comfortable thinking that I was speaking to a rep from DSTV. And if it's happened to me, it can happen to anybody. Guys, these guys are not playing.
Immediately I entered the PIN, I started receiving messages from MTN that money has been taken from my account. So they took the 91 cedis, wiped everything from my account, and also took MTN extra balance. So,
Sorry.
You are a busy man.
If I was not busy, I'm not busy. It's the work that is plenty.
But the money is good.
We are managing. When I joined Laptop around 2018, the volumes by then very low. In a day, we were doing like 500 to 1,000 transaction counts. But between then till now, in a day for now, we are doing about 2 million count of transactions.
More than 80 million mobile money accounts exist across Ghana. Over 26 million are actively used every 90 days. In 2025 alone, digital financial transactions reached nearly 10 billion transactions, worth more than 4.5 trillion Ghana cedis. This is a promise of a digital economy, faster transactions, greater access, and a path toward a cash-light future. But as the system expands, so does its exposure. As you see, he mentioned trillion. the guys who want to exploit the system then say, okay, this is where the money is.
Now it's becoming more towards digital fraud or digital burglary, let me put it that way, or digital armed robbery, let me put it that way, because it's becoming quite fascinating how the progress of moving funds digitally has brought us.
Hello, madam. I'm calling from MTN. Can you confirm your PIN?
Fraudster using psychological manipulation to manipulate and to get information from you, pretending to be who they are not.
Social engineering is now one of the most powerful fraud tools in the digital economy. Not because systems are weak, but because people are human.
You receive a call and somebody is asking you to, I'm calling from MTN, can you provide what? Your PIN. You laugh, you know. Those are typical social engineering attacks. MTN will not call you to request for what? Your PIN.
The fraud cases are ticking up, they're trending upwards. But what they're beginning to see is one that shows that mobile and digital payments fraud is also becoming a big issue.
It looks like they are hypnotized, or I don't know what they tell them.
Basically, the fraudster using psychological manipulation to manipulate and to get information from you, pretending to be who they are not. In most of the instances, they are pretending to be sending an email from a bank. You will see that they sent an email, which you check critically the email address. Maybe it's coming from ABSA, but if you see ABSA, maybe it's ASBA. And there are things your bank will not ask you remotely to confirm or to do.
Mobile money no, buy na beboa, but say some I want no, and how do
Social engineering fraud is all about trying to influence the conscience of the victim or the account holder for them to be able to transact on their behalf.
We cannot take these digital platforms out of the whole equation, but it's some of these things that have become the red flags that we need to take notice of, because you cannot necessarily have everything go all positive throughout. So we should rather be aware, right? Or we should be aware of some of these things, because these developers are always trying to improve themselves. You always see WhatsApp updates, you see new features and all of that. What are you doing at that moment to, secure yourself so that you don't fall victim? That is the most important question that we need to ask ourselves.
As you know, now we are in a connected world. Banks are connected to fintechs, fintechs are connected to telcos, telcos are connected to EMIs, electronic money issuers, PSPs, payment service providers. So everything is connected to everything. So fraud can happen as an entry point within the fintech environment and find its way within the banking system.
And in a connected financial system, fraud moves fast.
So the fraudster has managed to defraud somebody through maybe a Momo platform, quickly is moved into a bank account, and quickly is gone. And the fraudster may be sitting in Ghana, but the conspirators may be in Dubai, in Malaysia, in South Africa, in India, wherever. So the fraud is happening here, but the cash is being utilized outside.
Wherever money moves digitally, fraud follows.
Trust is a currency. The moment we lose that trust, the trajectory that we are on towards a cashless economy is at risk.
The essence of regulation in the broader financial context is to generate trust. The market value of trust becomes more obvious in the absence of it. And that is what the most regulated industry all over the world tends to be, the financial sector. And it's for a good reason. It means that where people put their money, they must have confidence. For you to go and leave your money in a bank and go home and sleep soundly is because you have trust.
If we place convenience excessively over security, we run the risk of breaking down the number one currency that we have in that ecosystem, and that is trust.
And this is a real danger. Not just financial loss, but economic ruin.
We have this hypothesis we need to test. What is the relationship between digital payments and the economy? We believe there is a very fundamental relationship there, and that the survival of our economy depends on the strength of digital payments and its safety, and that the prevalence of fraud can actually have devastating wider economic implications for us and our push towards a cashless economy. Because when you have a thriving cashless economy, you are then able to formalize such an informal economy. It increases revenue because you can track people, you can track movement, and you can levy the right taxes.
Then it means that the market begins to go down naturally, because it will hold back economic growth. Because the idea is that government alone cannot finance its economic strategy. You need private capital, you need saving, you need to build confidence in the system as a whole. So whatever intervention we have to put in place to ensure that there's greater uptake and usage of digital payment and stuff like that within the broader financial system overall will be good for tax revenue, and again it will be good in terms of financial inclusion, and it will be good also in terms of intermediation.
But despite the risks, the evidence still points in one direction: forward.
There are communities, there are traders in Ghana who don't want to even accept Momo payment or stuff like that. It's simply because they don't have confidence in the system. And it's also because perhaps they've had one experience or the other, directly or indirectly.
Yeah, we understand that a fintech, which probably may be a small business, may not have the financial resources to go through all these certifications. So we advise that they should join forces in investing in security architecture that protects their platforms. So it can be 10 fintechs coming together to invest in a security architecture that will help them to be, compliant in the way the central bank, forces banks to invest in infrastructure.
Interestingly, the fintechs also feel that the banks are less regulated in relation to them.
If we didn't have technology with our 2 million count of transactions, it would have been very difficult to detect. So on our part, there are what we call the transaction monitoring team, and it's required by the AML, Anti-Money Laundering Act, for every payment systems to have what transaction monitoring as part of it. So we have systems that triggers alerts that anytime we find a suspicious transaction, the system will trigger an alert for someone to go and review and see whether there's a potential fraud. So we depend a lot on technology to do this. Even your device that you have at the moment you come to us, you'll be able to tell that, okay, Evans has come with a device and this is the ID linked to it. This is the phone number he came with. So we are tracking your journey throughout. The day we receive a complaint that Evans has perpetrated fraud on MTN, we can even go as far as blocking your device on our platform that you will never be able to use our systems in-house.
The fraud battle is becoming technological, an arms race between security systems and criminal innovation.
I know our recommendation is to make sure that we have an industry-wide solution to prevent fraud. So a solution that will deal with the banks, a solution that will deal with the fintechs, a solution that will deal with non-bank institutions. So I think we need to have a 360-degree solution, not the one that is in siloed. Okay, so we have one that is for banks, one for fintechs. As you rightly said, all these are connected. So when you have a solution that is siloed, then it becomes a problem.
We have gone through some lost experiences and we've seen some trends and have invested in systems to arrest the frauds that potentially could happen on those fronts.
But the good thing is the industry is trying to come together to fight this kind of fraud that we are seeing, from Bank of Ghana to even the law enforcement agencies like the police. And the more we are able to do these things, then we're able to build the trust of our merchants and our customers.
I think enforcement action is also key, yes. I must say you cannot investigate successfully and prosecute every cyber security incident or every cyber crime that occurs. No. Look, even if the state is able to successfully investigate and prosecute 5% of all cases that are reported, that would have been a phenomenal, significant world record. Because there are complexities. Some of these attacks are not even in Ghana. And that is why I'm advocating for the preventive measures, because ultimately once you're able to prevent, then you're likely to have saved the citizens a lot. And you can allow the law enforcement, the CID, the YOCO, the others the CSA, to be able to focus their limited resources on field that they can pursue and prosecute and possibly get successful outcomes to serve also as a deterrent.
As you know, with technology, you can't be 100% sure. And one thing that we always forget, we can protect the technology, we can prevent it from being hacked. Cyber attacks can, as we speak, we have our FICSOC, our Financial Intelligence Command and Security Operations Center, where financial institutions, now we are adding fintechs to be able to be connected to it to prevent cyber attack. However, social engineering, how do you prevent it? If somebody downloads an MTN app, or somebody downloads a bank app, or an AT app, or a Telecel app, and they go through the process, and the person is probably, they'll put Ivan's number in there. They call Evans and say, Evans, we are from so and so center. Can you repeat the OTP? Don't forget that these are processes that are supposed to protect the customer. That's authentication levels. That same authentication level, they call you for you to freely provide it. You provide it. They call you again to say, can you add your PIN to it? How do you prevent that?
So they give you a link?
Yes.
They send a link to your WhatsApp?
Yes, okay. Yesterday.
I think you forwarded me the link. Let me follow it. Hello?
Yes, please.
Hi, is this KFC?
Yes, you're welcome to here.
KFC, is it KFC North Kanishi? Because I'm ordering something for my grandma.
Yes.
Okay, good. What do you have on the menu? I'm looking for, you do chicken nuggets?
Yes, we do chicken nuggets.
Do you do dispatch?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll send you a bill of WhatsApp where you take your payment and submission where we are using directly.
Okay, so you send me the POS details
on WhatsApp.
On WhatsApp. Okay.
I'll just send you the same number of people.
Okay, so you send it there. Okay, good. So I'm standing by for.
Do you have the same number on WhatsApp?
Is this on WhatsApp? I can send you my WhatsApp number.
Okay, so this same number is on WhatsApp.
Okay, good. So I'm going to send you my WhatsApp number, and then you send me the payment details, correct?
All right.
Okay, good. If I have any challenge, I'll call you back, okay?
All right.
Okay, thank you very much. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, we just spoke. You sent me the POS payment details.
All right.
Please, very quickly, I just tried to use the link you sent me. And when I got to the end, it's asking me for my PIN. Are you going to send me a PIN? Or I should type in my order number?
That's your normal PIN to authorize the payment.
Oh, so I should...
Yes, you put in your normal PIN to authorize the payment.
Okay.
You shall make it.
So I should type in my Momo pen.
Yes.
So you're not scamming me?
No.
I always say the moment someone who knows I work with Haftel reaches out to me, even they've taken my money from my accounts, the first question I ask is, did you enter your PIN? They said they convinced me, and by the time I realized I've entered my PIN. Mobile money is in such a way that you hardly be defrauded without entering your PIN. I've never experienced any kind of fraud like that. So what we do is when we receive a complaint, we reach out to the customers to find out more about what actually transpired. And I would say 100% of them actually entered their PIN.
If you're looking at cybercrime losses as a country, that would have been the third largest economy globally. If you take the US, you take China, the next biggest thing would have been, the cybercrime economy by way of the magnitude of the losses that have been recorded here.
Cybersecurity Ventures estimates global cybercrime losses reached $10.5 trillion in 2025, up from $3 trillion in 2015. At that scale, cybercrime will rank as the world's third largest economy after the United States and China. And Ghana is not isolated from this reality.
West Africa has a significant share of those losses. Ghana is situated clearly within West Africa, and I think Interpol has done pretty good work. They year on, they do assessment, and West Africa is considered a high-risk areas as far as online scams that you are investigating is concerned.
A cross-country study covering 70 countries found that increasing electronic payments reduce crimes such as robbery and burglary. It found that adding one POS device per 1,000 people was associated with a 2.2% to 5.6% reduction in robbery. But the benefits of fintech and digital payments go far beyond reduction in crime.
For a country like Ghana with a huge informal sector and a huge unbanked population, these avenues allows the economy to rope in the unbanked who traditionally will not be comfortable with opening a bank account. These days, when you want to go and open a bank account, they still ask you of certain documents that probably the average Ghanaian in the informal sector may not be able to provide. So digital payment, digital apps, fintechs opens up the market and ropes in all these people. The real benefit is that it increases financial inclusion and helps to also ensure that there's increased flow within the financial system that can also aid intermediation. So the benefit is quite wide. If the government is able to put in place the right structures, then we're able to trace transactions. We're able to formalize the informal sector in a certain way that allows us to build an inclusive economy.
So right now in Ghana, there's no system that is sharing fraud data across the financial institutions. Fraudsters steal from one bank and walk into another and do the same thing, same credentials, same Ghana card. They do it again and again. There's nothing stopping them.
Digital finance does not only reduce physical crime, it is an economic imperative on which the Ghanaian economy is increasingly becoming anchored.
I think we've just started. So I'm hoping to see where we get to a stage where we are buying your coffee broke mine and the woman by the roadside has got a POS device. That's where I see the future to be. Everything digital.
MyCreditScore Ghana was built purposely to close this gap. We operate as a licensed credit bureau under the central bank. When fraud happens on any platform, be it a bank, a mobile money operator, or any other of the fintech platform, they report it directly to us. That information becomes available to the entire industry in real time. That is why Haftel brought us in this solution, because stopping fraud at one door isn't enough, but when you close it at all doors at the same time, that is when you make an impact.
We have to get to a point where if I need funds, just like the way if I have a bank account and I need funds, I can apply for a loan. The woman selling tomatoes by the roadside should be able to say that, oh, because I have 80 wallets, mobile money, MTN mobile wallets, or Telecel cash wallets, I will be able to access a loan from there. Will I be able to have an insurance? Just like the way your bank, do all the benefit that your bank account gives you. That's where we're to get to a point where we are moving from financial inclusion to financial health. Otherwise, our transaction will be cash in, cash out.
If we do not address this and nip it in the bud, it has the potential of frustrating our move towards a more cash-light society.
Technology can build a digital economy, but only trust can sustain it.
And thank you all for staying through and watching this. And welcome back. If you're just joining us, we've just been watching the premiere of the Trust Crisis, Why Fraud is Holding Back Ghana's Digital Economy, produced especially for this inaugural Digital Economy Forum. Now, as we've just seen, Ghana's digital economy stands at a remarkable moment. Digital payments have opened extraordinary opportunities for businesses and consumers alike, but they have also exposed new vulnerabilities that none of us can afford to ignore. The documentary deliberately asks some difficult questions. Over the next hour, our panel will help us answer them. So I'm delighted to have been joined by the foremost authorities and foremost brains on this digital finance, cybersecurity, economic policy from across the board. Please help me welcome Hanan Oreku-Asari, is the head of FinTech and Innovation Department at the Bank of Ghana. Thank you very much. John Ewa is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Association of Banks. He's very passionate about this subject, very, very passionate. And I remember when the BOG released the report last week, he was all over the place talking about it. And so I'm delighted that he gets to expand on the solutions with us when we talk. John, thank you for agreeing to talk to us. And you heard him in that documentary. He's a man who breaks down the most complex issues so that my mother in the village can understand. Professor Godfrey Bockman, he has a very unique skill to do just that. I'm delighted he joins us in the studio, economist at the University of Ghana Business School. Also joining us tonight is Stephen Kujo. So she is the Deputy Director General, Technical Operations at the Cybersecurity Authority. And he also joins us in the studio. Thank you very much. I'm grateful very much. And you heard I don't know if those of us who are listening to us on Joy 99.7, you may not have seen it, but on screen we spoke to KFC and they told us that they had filed a report with his authority. It had taken so long and the fraudster was still, milking people. Eventually they took it down. And so we'll talk about speed, right? We'll deal with that pretty shortly. Also joining us, Kwame Tamaklo also joins us, the Chief Risk and Compliance Officer of Mobile Money FinTech Limited, one of the biggest players in the industry. I'm grateful that you decided to join us. And I know MTN is spending a lot of money on this campaign already. So good place again to expand on what you're already doing and let's explore the solutions together. Now, Ebenezer Bafo is the head of internal affairs at Haptel. You heard him in the documentary, and he's been so busy talking to us about how his space has exploded, but it also comes with a lot of challenges. Eben, I don't envy you, but thank you very much for making time to join us again. He's with Haptel, and he joins us. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this program. Now, I want to begin where the documentary ended. It argued that trust has become the currency of the digital economy. But is Ghana genuinely facing a trust crisis? So let's start there and let's open it back. If we assumed that there's a trust crisis, that's the premise of the documentary will start. And so we have to explore it. But let me pick your thoughts. And I believe the BOG has done the most work in this area, and with the recent, I think every year you release a report, yes, right? Based on what you're seeing, would you agree with the hypothesis that we have a trust crisis in our hands?
I don't think we have a trust crisis. I think we need to be aware that there can be a potential trust crisis, and I think the fact that we acknowledge that there can be a potential trust crisis gives us all the tools and ammunitions and the drive to be able to arrest the situation. Because, you see, if you look at the numbers and you look at it in isolation, you may feel that the fraud levels are really alarming, and which it's rightly so. But if you put it in context, you know, we've come from a position where back in 2007, where GIPS got established, where mobile money started growing, up to now, we've seen a major growth in digital transactions. And just like any industry or any pathing, where the attention is, that's where you get the fraudsters also get into. You know, so I think if you really quantified the level of fraud, which can actually impact trust, and juxtapose it with the volumes that we are dealing with, per capita basis, it's relatively slim. But we should not ignore the signal on the wall. We should not ignore the signal. We need to be able to ensure that we are educating, we are getting to where we have smart and fast tools to be able to curb this. We should be able to have a situation where, I quite remember, those of us who have been using bank cards for ages, the moment your pattern of transactions change, there's a call, your card will be blocked because data is being leveraged. And now that we have AI tools and we have the data capabilities coming through, I believe service providers need to leverage on that so that we are more proactive than reactive.
Okay, so we're exploring the solutions, and I will spend most of the time doing just that. But on that subject of whether we are there yet, and because I guess you have to diagnose a problem properly before you begin to solve it. John, I want to come to you next. Hanan talks about there's a potential for a trust crisis. Do you agree, based on what you know at the banking level?
Yeah.
Or we are there already?
There, I would say no.
Okay.
But are we heading there? I would say yes.
Okay.
And I'll give a very simple example, an experience that I had not too long ago. You see, you begin testing whether on the trust trajectory, at what point you are, when you begin experiencing incidents where people begin questioning things they were not questioning before.
Yeah.
Then immediately you find that, then the trust level is coming down. Just not too long ago, I made a transaction, and I asked the gentleman, can I get your bank account number? So I do a direct transfer. So no, you're not allowed to give bank account number. But bank account number should never be a problem. Somebody having your bank account number alone should never be a problem. But because of history of the experiences that they've gone through, even giving a bank account number for me to do a transaction transfer, was an inhibition. Like, there was a problem. That was a huge problem which could have frustrated the transaction. That is two very knowledgeable people in the field having this kind of dialogue. So if you break it down to the man on the street, then if you're not cautious and we do not nib it in the bud, and that is exactly the point I was making in the documentary, that we don't stop it now, then you run the risk that when it gets to a certain trajectory, reversing becomes difficult because people naturally will fall off.
Okay.
You will find that you've had a very nice ride, but you find that it's plateaued, and all of a sudden we are on a descending trend. Then immediately, nobody will tell you, I don't trust the system. But their actions will begin informing policymakers, regulators, that potentially people are now more or less afraid to do transactions in this environment. But to what Ureku said, which I agree 100%, we processed 10 billion transactions, 4.5 trillion worth of transactions, and we lost just about 100 million and for about, let's say, 20,000 fraud cases, give and take. So when we say 20,000 against 10 billion transactions. But fraud, measuring fraud, coming from the banking system, we do not place a lot of emphasis on the fraud loss per se. It's important, but our emphasis is in the incidents. Because the incidents that test pervasiveness, whether the fraud is pervasive, it becomes a problem when it becomes pervasive. And you measure pervasiveness by the number of incidents. As for the banking system, one fraud event can give you a certain spike, and all of a sudden everybody is running helter-skelter. Yeah. But we get alarmed when a lot of the fraudsters are getting success. The success rate becomes high, and that is measured in the number of cases.
Okay. And are you seeing that? Are you seeing the...
from the report that was released by Bank of Ghana, I hate to insulate the banks because the problem exists. We had a very good trend, which is a significant reduction.
Year on year to this year.
Yeah, significant reduction in fraud cases. About 34% reduction, which is significant because volumes went up and then the fraud cases have come down. But we are in an ecosystem. What affects a fintech or a PSP, because we operate within the same ecosystem, potentially will affect a bank. Because there are people who do not have bank account, but they have Momo accounts. They transfer money from a Momo to somebody in a bank who has a bank account. So fraud incident transfer can easily happen from a platform to another platform. So we cannot stand on high horses and say, oh, no, we are okay, but the PSPs are the problem. Unless all of us work together, come together and take the bull by the horn and see one incident on one platform as an incident on the entire ecosystem.
Okay, and all of you are here, so we'll come to that. And that's the best time to come to you, Mr. Tamaklo. Yeah. What's your experience? What are you noticing?
Yeah, I mean, there are signals, to the fact that people would say, I don't want to do this because Misro said, in our local parlance, that I'm afraid I might be defrauded. So there are signals as to, because of that, emotionally or mentally, people want to just rather protect their money themselves by keeping it in their wallet than putting it digitally, to use. But again, you come to ask as to at what point do we say we are in crisis? That is very difficult for it, because you would have seen the trajectory turning downwards before you come to your senses to say, it seems that things are hitting us hard. So it is serious for me, even if it is one, as John said, even if it is one case that is hitting you because of your appetite for fraud, your risk appetite for fraud is normally within our financial sector. Most of the financial institutions is zero. Mm-hmm. So to have even one, it's an issue. So yeah, there are some signals around that, but are we there, as in, do we have trust issue at this point in time? I would say no.
Let's look at the steps. Go on, please.
Yeah, in addition to what John said about the report in terms of banks and the PSP, today you see that almost all the 23 banks, commercial banks we have, and the SDIs are moving strategically towards the digitization, right? So most of their services are being moved from the normal, the traditional way of doing things into the digital area. And most of the platforms they are using in providing services are the PSPs. So fraud happens here for banking services. It is happening on PSP. So it is good for us to rather see it from the point of view of we being in one ecosystem, and that there's the need for us to look at it from that perspective and deal with it.
And that I'll come to explore a bit more, because something that I picked up in the documentary is, and I think Hanan addressed it briefly, and I'll allow him to expand on it, which is don't deal with it in silos. Right. Everybody must come and deal with it. But there was also a concern that was expressed in the documentary that it appears the fintechs and the banks do not have the same regulation. And so you need to harmonize the regulation across board. We'll explore that. I think it's a big part of trying to fix a problem. Eamon, let me come to you, because you are all in the same space with the real money fintech. What are you noticing a downward trend in the fraud cases that you're dealing with? Because I know at Haptel, just like your mobile money fintech, you've all set up very efficient mechanisms for tracking, for dealing with it. So you are catching it now. If you log it, are you seeing a trending upwards, or there's a decline?
For now, I would say we are going upwards. Looking at the report that was released recently,
when you look at the reports, about 97% of the total fraud that happened is coming from fintechs or PSPs.
That's payment service providers.
Payment service providers. That means that year on year, the banks seems to be going down, but fintechs or payment service providers are the ones going up. So what I ask myself is, why is it happening that way? PSPs are just in the middle of the payment chain, right? And when it comes to fraud, fraudsters are looking for the point where they can immediately target and quickly move away the funds. So instead of targeting a bank account, it's very difficult to target a bank account. It's very difficult to target the mobile wallet itself. But when I come through a medium, then whatever I do becomes like I'm passing through a proxy to reach to the bank. So most of the fraud transactions that are happening could have happened on MTN, Airtel, Tigo, Telecel directly, but it's quite difficult for them because when they come, like most often than not, when you come direct that I'm calling from MTN, people have heard about MTN here and there, and MTN usually is in the news or is in the media talking about, what is the name, fraud, report to 419 here and there. But where is the Haptel? Where is the Express Pay? Where is the other fintechs to propagate the fraud message? So when you look at the report, 97% of the total fraud that happened in the industry is coming from fintechs. So on our side, I would say that it's going up. It's something that we have to fight together. When we look at the amount involved, I would say 50-50, because when you're able to hit one bank account, the amount you get there is higher than what you get when you hit a mobile money wallet. So basically, when it comes to transaction counts, fintechs, we are trending upwards, but when it comes to the amounts, it's 50-50. But as Samson said, the rare issue is about the number of incidents and not the amount involved. So if you are trending about 97%, 95% year on year, then there's something you have to really look at.
Yeah,
so,
and I'll bring you back in, Mr. Tamaklo, on that point, because you're all in the same space.
Right.
I know your name has changed, but everybody knows you are MTN. So I know, and majority of us are in your debt. Is that your story too? Are you seeing an upward trend in there?
Context is very important, right? We track another KPI we call attempts, fraud incidents against fraud attempts, right? And the attempts give us some information about how our customers are becoming more and more aware of what is happening around them. Because in the past, you wouldn't have people picking their phones and reporting that, oh, somebody called me, blah, 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 and he wanted to defraud me. And then when he said that or he said this, I realized they were trying to defraud me, so I cut the line. These are the numbers that they used to call. Today, we have that about 62-63% month on month increasing, as against fraud incident, which is like 3% month on month increasing. So if I situate that also into the context of whether fraud is increasing, yes, on month, you see that way. But the other side of the coin is that you're also happy that the effort to make the customer the first line of defense is yielding some fruit, that people are getting, day in, day out, getting to know the tricks and are able to pick it up and protect themselves. As Oreku said in the documentary, that some of the typologists are saying that technology is difficult for technology to prevent, right? So the only way is to build the capacity of that person and make him the first line of defense to be able to pick up and say, this, I think this is fraudulent and I have to stop it. So yes, it is going up, but on the other hand, you have other factors that is also showing that there's something good that is happening. In addition to that, just numbers, right? Between 2021 and 2025, we grew the float on the ecosystem from 8.8 billion to 37 point something billion, right? And between this period, from 2024, beginning of the year 2024, to the end of 2025, contributed 71% of the difference between the two. That is, the difference will be like 29 billion Ghana cedis within 5 years. And this 29 billion Ghana cedis, within just 2 years, 2024 into 2025, 71% of the float was built within that time. How do we say? Because our brothers within the banking sector are also pushing a lot of their services into the digital space. You are having more service providers coming into the space. You are having your customers, merchants, agents also growing. So in a bit, as the ecosystem grows, you would see some of these things because new people are coming and they don't understand the space very much. Some of the typologies are the service related. So they will use a particular service on your app or on your platform to defraud somebody. So the knowledge around even the service provision also is something that allows people to defraud something. So you put all this within the context, you would say that we are not at that point where you say...
Okay. Let me bring the Cybersecurity Authority. What typologies are you seeing dominating the fraud conversation when it comes to exploiting customers and businesses? I mean, we talk about customers, but businesses are also at risk. What are the big ones you're seeing? And one of the things that came out strongly was in the documentary was the social engineering. Is that still the most important, and should we focus almost all our efforts there?
Yes, thank you. Yes, indeed, social engineering is probably the biggest driver of the reports we get. Because in each of the cases, most of the cases we look at, you would realize that there's been some form of trickery. We have impersonation. So we got one case about, even your own case about KFC. So impersonation of brands is a key driver.
But I must say something about this because I understand there are many websites like that out there.
Yeah.
And all I did was I Googled the popular brand. So the first one I saw at the top is what I went for. Because my assumption is if it's at the top, it must be there. Yeah. Apparently, I don't know how they've engineered it. For it, the fake cloned KFC website was the one at the top.
Right.
So I went straight for it. My luck was my colleague had already been defrauded. Her account was wiped. And they borrowed on top of it. I don't know, MTN does that. Apparently you can borrow.
Right.
So they took the money for the KFC. The KFC wasn't coming. Then they wiped the account and then they borrowed money on top. Right? So how do you even notice what is a fake website from what is not? And by the way, in my case, the website looks so genuine.
Right.
The whole website architecture, and I thought of, I know what website. Nothing about I said it was fraudulent. Even the steps were so smooth. If I was on a proper KFC website, I probably would have had glitches. There was no glitch. Until I called KFC and said, we have noticed that it's been there for so long, we've been trying to pull it down. They filed the report to you, and it's been months. There's been no action. So while this was happening, more people, is that the biggest problem you're facing? That convincing me. And we saw Jocelyn Duma, who was making the same point. They wiped their account, right? Everybody's at risk. Is that your biggest problem?
It is
social engineering.
It is probably the most significant because the attackers or the threat actors realize that generally it's easier to go after the human than the systems.
Right.
Okay.
So if I'm going to attack a KFC site, it will take me time. But if I want to get their money, let me go after their customers. So what you saw is someone who is sophisticated enough to clone the entire site. And the challenge we run into, you've talked about how long it took to take down, is where they host some of these sites.
Okay.
They host them in certain jurisdictions where when even a national authority like ours triggers a takedown, it is some back and forth for them to respond. Now, when that kind of sophistication is in place, what you have is how quickly the end user is able to do additional verifications. So what you saw in terms of the search engine results is another tactic now. So company and whatnot. So they just go and they can impersonate you there as well and say, oh, okay, I'm KFC. I'm changing my number from this one to that one. And they go in. Or sometimes they target someone in KFC. They might send a phishing email. A phishing email is basically an email designed to trick you. You click on a link, they've compromised your account. And so basically they can pretend to be you on that platform. So they go in and change the details. You might not know because no alarm comes to you. But out there, if I type KFC, because of the manipulation they've done, it's at the top. If you, the end user, don't validate and make, oh, is this actually a KFC number? Let me call and verify. You just dive in and you fall victim. So it's a cat and mouse kind of thing we are doing. We are able to take down, but the speed of response varies. For some of them, depending on the sophistication, within 24 hours to get a response, it's gone. For the really good ones like the one you saw, it can take us a while to do it. So we are exploring other measures. So far, the bulk of the takedowns have been done going to the hosts out there. But then what we are now exploring is, okay, we have our ISPs, our various internet service providers within our ecosystem. What we are looking at is building infrastructure where we can block, even within Ghana, for a certain period, whilst we are chasing the international one. Okay. So that way, if you take your phone, your laptop, you're on a Ghana ISP, you won't see it for you to fall victim in the first place. Those are some of the things we'll do whilst we are, let's say, tackling it from different angles. So there's education part, the education piece for the people, the technical takedowns from our end, and even working with the actual merchants or the service provider that are suffering. So one thing is this. So you're a KFC. One of the measures you can be thinking about now is around what we call your digital footprint. There are tools for you to scan out there to see who is hosting a website using my logo,
Right.
who is using my tagline somewhere. And these tools will tell you. You look at it, you see, you'll be able to tell, okay, this URL or this is not mine.
Mm-hmm.
You can then right away proactively trigger a takedown. So these providers will tell, okay, if this is, let's say, for example, kfc.com.gh, when you do that scan, you realize someone is taking your kfc.com.gh icon or created a site with it, you can make a request and they will take it down for you. But if you sit back and assume that's all we are all seeing, then by the time you realize the fraud would have happened, you tell us, we will now start the process. If it takes us 2 weeks, the whole 2 weeks, people are suffering. So there are multiple angles we need to go at it from.
I see. And whilst we're talking about Prof, so is this only a problem for the banks and the fintechs, or this is a problem for the economy?
Well, thank you. Well, I'm sure as we are gathered here talking about this, some criminals are also hosting their own forum somewhere, trying to see how they can improve.
Right.
Right. So you gave the estimate how much we are losing globally. That's almost 4 times the GDP of entire Africa. Right. So it's a big business. And don't be surprised that I'm not talking from experience. They invest in this. Right. So it's part of the bigger economy. And we should just understand that criminals in this area are very innovative. They also do research. They can see where the world is heading towards. Whether we like it or not, you actually don't require faith to believe that the world is increasingly being digitized. The future of money is digitization. The future of currency is digitization. In fact, the future of finance is digitization. These days, we talk about digital economics and digital finance much more than traditional economics and traditional finance. So they understand that, and they also follow the money. So it should not be seen as an isolated case. I think that we just have to look at it that it's part of the economic context now in which all of us operate and all of that. And they are also within that particular space. If you look at the forecast, that the digital economy is expected to grow faster than the traditional economy, okay, and all of that. And it's not peculiar to only advanced countries. In fact, we are making a lot of progress these days if you look at the data and all of that. So it's not just an isolated case. And I believe that we don't need to count the evidence, but perhaps we also need to weigh it and look at the relativities. We did a study about 3 years ago when the African Continental Free Trade were launched, the digital trade, and the rest of them. And we found close to 40% of the respondents who were unwilling to deploy digital payments.
Because?
Simply because of fraud. And some of them have had experience. Okay, and the way it works is that they talk among themselves, right? So this is more informal sector, contact intensive, and the rest of them. And we found regional differences as well, particularly in the Ashanti region. The pushback is very strong, right, compared to all of that. But I also do acknowledge that a lot of progress has been made, right? There's a lot more information out there now. People are more protective of their passwords now than probably 4 years ago or 5 years ago and all of that. And I think across the space, we are seeing that banks are communicating, informing customers, regulators, and all of that. So to that extent, we've made some good progress, but I do not think that this is not a war that you win, right?
You have to restate that. I thought that was the whole objective of Hanan has been losing sleep over this, and he's hoping that he'll begin to sleep well enough because we'll win the war.
In this space, you don't sleep because the people are not sleeping.
Right. Okay.
Okay. The people, because the tools are available, both to good people and to bad people, and all of that. And remember, somebody just went to school and acquired this skill. And all that he wants to do is to make money this way. And if you look at the amount we were mentioning here, it's more than it's almost 3 times the entire GDP of Africa. It's that lucrative, right? It's that lucrative. So I'm saying that this is not something that you are saying, I'm going in to win. And then after that, like Spain, they just won the World Cup. No, it doesn't work like that way. And the banks and the fintech companies will all agree that it has to be a continuous improvement, systems improvement, and all of. Sometimes you even need to test it yourself, and all of that, and see the updates that are coming. So, but I think that I will say that in Ghana we've made a lot of progress.
Yeah. And I want to come back to the Oriku on that point. Oriku, is regulation keeping pace with the criminals on this subject?
I'll use this analogy. It's like somebody performing at a stage with a spotlight on you. And all of us, spectators or in the audience, are in the dark. You get it? So the fraudsters are the guys in the dark. And regulators, we are performing. We are trying to make sure that we get this under control. So it will be very difficult for us to confidently say, as Prof said, that we've won this case or we have a stronghold on it, because us and the citizens, we are the focus. We are performing. The spotlight is on us. So we need to continuously make sure that we manage to change behaviors. We manage to put in policies in place. Systems, I don't think that we have a problem. I think we have good structures to be able to protect the system. But how do you put in place a policy to prevent somebody from giving their pin out? Then it's going to be a matter of trying to have a situation where convenience had to pave way for security.
Right. Right.
We now have 2-factor authentication. That means that we are calling for 5-factor authentication.
But if that's what it takes, why not?
No, but then it means that it's going to slow
transactions.
Even that.
Others will then come out and say, look, what is this that we are doing here? Let me just take the cash and then pay outrightly. Because if I had to, in my initial submission, I was alluding to the fact that there are periods where your transactions will be blocked and you have to make calls for you to be verified. Is it convenient? No. Does it protect you? Yes. But at the scale that we are growing with digital financial services, it's difficult to do that. It will be very difficult to do it.
Yeah.
So I would say, yes, we have the entire ecosystem. We are working with the ecosystem to make sure that fraud in its entirety is handled holistically.
So we'll explore that, but answer this. So what is the current framework now, regulatory-wise, for dealing with this problem? Currently, what framework do you have for dealing with it?
On fraud?
On fraud, yes.
At different levels.
Okay.
When it comes to systems, we just recently launched the Cyber and Information Security Directive. Very clear.
Okay.
When it comes to systems, we need to make sure that cyber attacks, we curtail it. There are very clear rules and regulations around it. You know, we mentioned that we are trying to be on board. I mentioned in the documentary that we are trying to onboard fintechs on our.
What's that?
The Financial Intelligence Command Center.
Okay. The banks are on.
The banks are on.
But the fintechs aren't on.
So we are.
And yet they are facing the bulk of the.
No, but that's. We need to put this in context, and I think I need to go back to what. Kwame, I always loved calling him Godwin. Godwin ended. You know, it's gotten to a point where the transaction, because of the level of access that the PSPs provide, the transactions are moving from the banks to the fintechs. I'll give you a typical example. The behavior is now changing. People get paid and they move a chunk of their money into their wallets because of the level of acceptability. We have gotten to the point where if we win this case or this battle, it will be because it's a coalition of everybody, of the willing, everybody, trying to make sure that the citizen, service providers, regulators across are singing the same song. Because we need to get to a point where when you visit the Kofi Brookman lady, she should be confident to accept the digital payment without thinking twice.
Yeah.
How will we do it? Systems, policies to protect systems, and then policies to also to make sure that everybody in the room is educating the customer or the citizen. Because we can, I think Stephen said it, when it comes to the systems, we've done a good job on that. But when it comes to individuals, I mean, giving your pin out, I'm wondering the kind of policy that will prevent that.
And I'll go for a quick, when I return, I'd like to explore, you said, let's have a system-wide approach.
Yeah.
But I believe from the documentary, I get the sense that now there's a big fragmentation there right now, fintechs and banks. And there must be some harmonization, at least. There must be some coming together. What is the current architecture? And I think, John, you raised it, that you see that now it is not, everybody's on the same page, at least in dealing with matter. Something that should happen. I want to explore that. And then I will explore the economic issues and where, cybersecurity comes in this. You're still here live on the Digital Economy Forum. It's live on the Joy News channel. It's live on Joy 99.7 FM. We'll take a quick break. When we return, my panelists will weigh in. We're now talking about the solutions. And there's some big ticket items there. We'll hear Prof's idea, we'll hear the Cybersecurity Authority, and then the players themselves. And then my audience will begin to weigh in because they have questions, they have experiences, and they also have some ideas on how this problem can be dealt with. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Upgrade your print game with Konica Minolta, proudly powered by SkySat Technologies. From all-in-one machines that print, scan, and copy to professional systems and heavy-duty production machines, we deliver unmatched performance. Right now, SkySat has an unbeatable offer. 1 entire year of free servicing on all Konica Minolta machines. That's 12 months of expert maintenance for new and existing customers. Visit our new VIP Print Center at Pegasus Place, Airport Residential Area for a live demonstration. Call us on 050-164-5180 or 0302-798-829. Again, it's 050-164-5180 or 0302-798-829. SkySat Technologies. Performance that delivers every time.
Hey, what's up?
Life. It's moving so fast. Yesterday I was in class 4. Today I'm almost in JHS. My shoes don't fit me anymore. My voice is deeper. I was watching cartoons, but now they say I'm too old for that.
The more things change, the more they'll stay the same. I still love you the same.
Come and sit, Dad.
In a world that keeps changing, Calipo still keeps making sweet memories.
I still love it.
Dad, I told you to have a sip not to finish.
Calipo Food Juice Drink, making sweet memories. This advert is FDA approved.
When malaria shows up, it doesn't knock. It just takes over.
Oh, no. This fever is too much.
When malaria comes, respond with Mala-2. Fight malaria with Mala-2 tablets or syrup from Ernest Chemists. Test for malaria first before taking Mala-2. If symptoms persist for more than 48 hours, see a doctor. This advert is FDA approved.
Palladium Residences in Achimota isn't just an address, it's the home you truly earned. Secure your place with just a 10% deposit and choose from beautifully designed modern apartments or spacious townhouses built for everyday comfort. This is more than a building. It's a vibrant, curated community with a clubhouse, state-of-the-art gym, and an on-site hotel, all at ABC Junction, minutes from Achimota Mall. Enjoy city energy while retreating to your private sanctuary. Call now to reserve your unit and benefit from limited launch incentives, including priority unit selection, executive pricing, and flexible payment options available. Don't miss the chance to pick the best homes. Book your private site visit today. Call 050-9823-424. Palladium Residences. Live smart, invest better.
Ɛyɛ biribi ketewa bi na ɛde nsakraeɛ ba ɛtɔ da a ɛhyɛ aseɛ firi baabi a wote. Ɔhwɛpa ɛnyɛ dede na mmom ɛyɛ din bere a obiara ani nni wo so.
Suban pasha asefi meso ne woso wofie.
Good conduct, great life is brought to you by
Indomie.
Tastes great.
More Kivo inside. Kivo Gari Soaking Mix. A taste of Ghana.
Hey Abna, you're going to leave again?
Yep, very much needed one so I could get to relax.
Well, every time you go and leave, you go on vacation. Yeah. Last 2 years it was Dubai. Even last month you went to Mexico. This time, where are you going to? Tell me.
This time I'm going to Guangzhou, China.
I see. How do you do it, Abuna? Because every time I try, I get scammed.
I use Waka now. They can get you the cheapest flight deals. They assist you with your visas, your hotels. They have well-created packages for everyone, and then you can pay small. You can call them on 024-243-5515, or you can visit their website at wakanow.com.
Putting on just the fabric isn't really enough. You have to put on your confidence. I chose this printed fabric because it symbolizes hope and success because of the color and the texture. Maso
Printex. Palladium Residences in Achimota isn't just an address, it's the home you truly earned. Secure your place with just a 10% deposit and choose from beautifully designed modern apartments or spacious townhouses built for everyday comfort. This is more than a building. It's a vibrant, curated community with a clubhouse, state-of-the-art gym, and an on-site hotel, all at ABC Junction, minutes from Achimota Mall. Enjoy city energy while retreating to your private sanctuary. Call now to reserve your unit and benefit from limited launch incentives, including priority unit selection, executive pricing, and flexible payment options available. Don't miss the chance to pick the best homes. Book your private site visit today. Call 050-9823-424. Palladium Residences. Live smart, invest better.
And thank you very much for staying with us. You're still live here on the Joy News channel, also live on Joy 99.7 FM and live across our many digital platforms, our social media handles on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, on TikTok, and all over the place. Even myjoyonline.com. This is the Digital Economy Forum, and we're talking about the trust crisis, how fraud is holding back our march towards a digital inclusion, but also creating a path to economic growth and sustainability. My guest, still with me in the studio, is we have Mr. Tamaklo from the Mobile Money Fintech Limited. And I struggle because I just want to say MTN. But of course, we all need to get used to it. He's a chief risk and compliance. I'm pretty sure that he's familiar with people struggling to, call that name. But yes, say that again. It's a transition. We don't want to transition. But yes, thank you, Mr. Tamaklo, for joining us. Stephen is with the Cybersecurity Authority. He is the Deputy Director General, Technical Operations there. Ibn Bofo is the Head Internal Affairs at Haptel. Godfred Bokwing is the economist at the University of Ghana Business School. John Ewa is the CEO of the Ghana Association of Banks. And of course, you have Will Kwasari, who is the Head FinTech and Innovation Department of the Bank of Ghana. And I want to take off from where he was before we went for the break. We're talking about the solutions. And one of the things he's kept on repeating is that every player in the digital ecosystem, payments ecosystem, must work together. Johnny, is it safe to say that although BOG says that is where the solution is, where we are currently, not everybody is playing at the same standard of, say, commitment and expectation and regulation in terms of dealing with this problem?
100%.
Is there fragmentation in
Yes, 100. We are moving towards convergence, but I 100% agree with you that there is a little bit of disconnect between how, as banks, we see the level of regulation and the oversight from the central bank vis-a-vis the requirements from the PSP side. Twofold. The first one is we agree that the level of investments in systems and the technology platforms that the banks have done is difficult for a fintech, which is a smaller, like a unit within a bank running that business, to have that volume of investment to, roll out in their architecture in order to either prevent or when it happens to be able to detect and report. So there is that disconnect in the investment. So we are seeing a lot of positive movement from our side, and thankfully from the work that we've done with Bank of Ghana on the FICSOC. But again, individually as banks investing in tools that enables us to stop the fraud from being successful in the first place. So the preventive mechanisms, which is mostly system-driven, are more or less working. And the advice we give, because we are in the same ecosystem and what happens here can transfer to the other side, is if the possibility of some group of fintechs also assessing, their, architecture to see where collaboration will provide a lot more value. So if it's about cybersecurity, is it possible for 5 or 10 fintech companies to come together and invest in one system that protects the 10 companies, which is equivalent to the certification that the central bank has given to us, which we have undergone and invested in the tools that enables us to stop some of these. But the other one, which obviously the point I made earlier in the documentary, is around regulatory arbitrage, which in my view is gradually converging, but still exists because you have a very low KYC. If you have a bank account, as you said, we are asking for your grandmom's teeth, So everything, the bells and whistles, everything is there. But when it comes to fraud, I like to liken it to the battle between the lion and the gazelle. They say when the lion wakes up in the morning, it knows that to survive, it must run as fast as the slowest gazelle. And when the gazelle wakes up in the morning, it also knows that it must run as fast as the fastest lion. So whether you are the bank or the fintech, or you are the lion or you are the gazelle, when you wake up in the morning, you have to start running. So we as banks, we know that where our bread is buttered is to secure our systems. So we do not prioritize profit over security. Even if you do that, the regulator will bring the whip. So security is paramount beyond profit. Because if you make all the profit this year, one fraud can wipe all away the following year. And that is the kind of mindset, in our view, the entire ecosystem must have, where we place our butter where our bread can be found.
Okay.
And if you find on radio, on TV, and everything, millions the banking system is spending on public education, just to get people to the level of our understanding, the ordinary man on the street to our level of our understanding. And that is how, as a community, we can help to prevent. Just one last point. To the point that Oreku made about the ecosystem resilience is critical. Ecosystem resilience is critical. So we need to all have that top of our
And that
mind.
is where I'll come to. How do you build that? I'll come to that. But let me explore that with I know the fintechs want to weigh in on the point. Very important point, but I think it's in the exploring the problem that you can find a solution. So, Godwin, weigh in on that for me. You agree?
I have a different view, from my brother John. You see, today, the physical cash that backs the electronic money we generate is not held by the PSPs or the dedicated electronic money issuers like us. They all go to the bank, right? So just like you having maybe a bar of gold, you go home, you put it in your safe, right? And then you have like 10 cedis or 20 cedis somewhere. The security to the bar of gold in the safe will be different from the 10 Ghana cedis. And that is how I believe the regulation is.
So that's what you're saying.
Proportionate.
There's more regulation.
Exactly, proportionate to the risk.
The gold in the safe, and
these are
in
the
your
10
pocket.
Ghana cedis in the wallet.
Okay.
Right. So proportionate to, so today, should Mobile Money Fintech Limited go down now, there shouldn't be much of a problem in terms of where do we get the money from to refund the customers. Because the physical cash that we have we have backing the electronic money are sitting with the 23 banks.
Okay.
Who will come and then say, okay, I have 10 Ghana cedis, 20 Ghana cedis here, and then they go. But should any of the banks go down today, we'll have problem with where do we get the money to refund some of the customers whose mobile money, physical cash is sitting with. So when you play these things within the conversation fairly and risk-based, regulator will always be looking at where the money is to protect it more than the channels. So the mobile money is just the channel. The PSPs are just the channel where the access to the funds is being used to do X or Y. Now, when you come to the context of fraud, either two, the banks don't do the kind of adverts they are doing now. Don't share your pain. Why? Because the fraud typology is no more systems. It's gone beyond systems. It's now the human being. So it's not about how well you've invested money to protect somebody from intruding cybersecurity-wise, breaking into your system or some malware attack, whatever. No, it's no more that. It is attack on the person. And these are not people who don't know anything. If you look at the documentary you did, the people who were defrauded are people who know, what's up, but they get defrauded. So the point is now, for me, and that is where I deviate a bit, is how do we invest in building the capacity of our service, our customers, to be able to be the first line of defense? That is where, for me, the point is. I know most of the, and today, you've not heard of any, as compared to the past, that any of the PSPs have been hit from the cyber point of view and monies have been taken from their platform. So in one way or the other, they are also investing in building, securing their platform. It might not be as huge as what the banks do because you get it? Yeah. So the money itself. Yeah. So the risk-based approach would be
Prof, stand by for me on that and also Stephen. But I want to come back to you because you wanted something to say. And then Eben, you'll be next because you're also in that same space. I want your thoughts on that.
Okay. It's a matter of measuring the maturity level in the fight. You see, when you've secured your inner perimeter, then you can then move out of the perimeter to begin attacking the field. You can't go to the field when you are leaking from the inner perimeter. So that is where the banks are now. The inner perimeter is fully fortified. So we are now getting out there. But the point,
you're not going to help the fintechs.
We are helping everyone. But the fintechs are our partners. We do a lot of distribution through fintech.
Exactly.
So if we don't,
because that's a bold statement. So you've already secured your turf.
No, of course. I mean, our environment is more or less. You can't say you are 100% proof. We all agreed that the fraudsters, they are not people who are anybody. They are like you. They are like me. Yeah. Sitting in nice offices, and all they are doing is trying to break the next ground. So you can't say you are safe. You can only say as best as you can do, you have done it.
Yeah.
And that's the point I was making. But I'm not sure the regulatory arbitrage is, Bank of Ghana is seeing it from who holds the liquidity perspective. Because the fraud, the bank can be, you see,
what the reality is.
You see, the bank could be sitting on the 10 billion.
Yes, I mean,
I'm enjoying the conversation.
You see,
the headmaster.
The bank could be sitting on the 10 billion. The bank is sitting on the 10 billion, but there are players who are taking in and out of that 10 billion. And the fraud is happening between them. The 10 billion is secured. But somebody has lost money, another person has gained. But the 10 billion is still there. So it is not a matter of who is holding the money. It is a matter of the ecosystem infrastructure. How do we together secure it? And I agree with you about reaching out and talking to the users of our platform to get them to the same level of. To be honest, now when I'm saying that, I even get scared because there was a day I was at Joy FM studio to give public education on cyber fraud, and just after the studio, when I sat in the car, I got the fraud, the 67. It tells you It tells you. I think when I left, they said, "Let's try this guy."
They saw some cracks in your argument.
So it tells you when it comes to fraud, nobody is safe.
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
So the danger we are having in this country, there are people who believe they are immune. It's like their level of education, it takes them out of the fraud, victim population.
Right.
No. We are 35 million people. We are all in the sample space.
Okay.
And when it comes to fraud.
And even to one of the points that John also makes about investment. He says the kind of investment the banks are making, he sort of understands if the fintechs aren't in the same position to make that same investment.
And that they should work together more.
They should sort of almost come together to raise the muscle to do the investment.
No, shared infrastructure.
Shared infrastructure.
Right. Yes, so I would say when it comes to investment, we are all guided by the similar principles when it gets to the regulatory level. When it comes to the ISO, to protect our systems, we are all guided by the same principles. When it comes to anti-money laundering, we are all guided by the same principles. So we are all guided by the same principles. But where I see when it comes to coming together to fight is when it comes to the payment service, we have silos when it comes to fighting fraud. And even to share information among ourselves is a big issue. When I joined Haptel, my first contact person from MTN Mobile Money was Godwin.
Okay.
Because there was a fraud incident and I had to coordinate with him to handle that fraud. The level of engagement between PSPs and the DEMIs, which is the dedicated money issuers, is not the same level when it comes to between the PSPs. As I sit here, I hardly know so many people from other companies. But when it comes to Telecel Cash, MTN Mobile Money, I know almost all their top guys when it comes to fraud. Okay. So when it comes to coming together to fight fraud, the industry, we are behind. I know the banks will be doing better when it comes to engaging themselves. They have this association where they engage to educate themselves on the trends.
Do you have an association like that?
For now, no.
I was going to come to that. I was going to come to that. Today, the banks are being represented by John as the CEO of Ghana's Job Bank. Yeah. We have different shades of groups within the fintech. So if we start from that level, there's a bit of disconnection. And as a regulator, I think we made it very clear to them when we met the fintechs and the DEMIs. We said, look, the only time we will meet you again is when you have a structure like GAB.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We mentioned the same thing to Association of Agents yesterday. Then the next time we meet you is when you have a structure that is very clear. You may have branches that want to deal with that executive level. When we start unifying from that level, the issue that Eben is talking about will be a thing of the past. So we've been very clear, and I'm happy that this is coming on the back of the conversation that we've had yesterday. To say that, look, if you don't come together as one body, you will not be able to benefit from some of the successes that John is confidently talking about today. That is where we need to fix. And we've made it very clear to the PSPs that you need to make sure that you come together and work as one body.
That's interesting. And please address the regulatory arbitrage conversation for me, because that is also very fundamental to the problem, I guess. How are you dealing with both? And how are you harmonizing that?
As John and Gordon rightly said, the PSPs are the last mile providers, right? In this context, the banks should be seen as wholesalers, and then they come through the PSPs. But John actually used a particular analogy, which I want to repeat. These PSPs are picking values from the banks at some point in time, or even amongst themselves. If the clock stops, do you know the level of amount of money that will be in circulation? So, in the eyes of the ordinary business, or even in the eyes of some of my partners here, they may think that there's some level of regulatory arbitrage. But trust me, if Godwin tells you the stress that will put them through, if Eben tells you the stress, it might not be the same. It will be a matter of different approaches, because these guys are predominantly last mile distributors. And then the banks really anchor the values that are in circulation. So we have to deal with it proportionately. But it has to be done in such a way that if the clock stops with the distribution layer, we can contain the risk.
Okay. That's interesting. Prof, you've observed for a while. What are you? What is it?
Maybe you should just stay like this.
and I like the fact that you are here. I mean, I was enjoying it too. But the thing about Prof, that you can synthesize. So you have heard everything. What is emerging as the pillar around which a solution can emerge? A sustainable, effective solution. Listen to all the parties directly working, the regulator and the players.
So the submissions reflect context, right, and all of that. But I think we are looking at ecosystem approach, and then we are also looking at building an economy. So the context is bigger than probably just the players who probably are looking at value creation, and then the risk of managing that and all of that. But we are also looking at the entire economy, digital economy that we want to build. And the fact that we are talking about vulnerable people that must be roped in and all of that. So from that perspective, I would say that, yes, perhaps the approach that the banks would adopt, because they've been in the system for so long, they are benefiting from the yield curve, right? Okay, but if you look at the fintechs and our history with fintechs, it's emerging and all of that. So they will also, of course, it's just like saying that you want to win, but you will concede some goals. You will score more, right? So that is the approach. So I'm sure with time, we'll be able to build data, and then we'll be able to see across that value chain where the gaps are and how we can fill that. I think that is what I see. And if you look at Bank of Ghana, they've gone through some restructuring, their approach, okay, and even which has also resulted in separating MTN, right, from the yes and all of that. Yes, and all of that. So you can see, because some 5 years ago, this was what we saw, and the regulatory friction between Bank of Ghana and then National Communication Authority and all of that. Now that the separation has happened, Bank of Ghana is able to look at this line of business and the entire value chain and the connectedness within the banking system and all of that. So to that extent, it's good news. What I feel is that the bit that is lacking, which we have also observed, is the fact that there isn't much coordination among the fintech. Either they see themselves as competing or whatever, but I think this is a bigger pie that is growing and all of that. So if they'll be able to come together, form an association and all of that, then perhaps they'll be able to share information and all of that. Then they will also be able to negotiate their way through from position of strength.
I have a question for you. Yeah, go on.
Yes, I know that there was this, when it comes to, there's some kind of association. I'm not too sure.
Number of them. Chamber of Technology.
So the fragmentation is the issue, and I believe that from regulatory point of view, it will be good if there's that kind of body, because we can see a little bit of differences, but we are all within that particular ecosystem, and I think that is what we should
considering the economy-wide potential impact, if something goes horribly wrong, should the government regulator leave them to figure it out, or as Oriku has started telling them, the only time we meet you again is if you come together? Should government and regulator go beyond that to now put it in place properly, regulatory requirements mandating that as a requirement? weigh in on that for me.
Yeah, I think that...
Because the implications, as you've already talked about,
yes,
would be devastating for the entire economy. So should we leave them to do it? And if they delay, should we just sit back? Or should government invest in taking more central interest in having this coordination?
So we say that in economics, people respond to incentives, right? So these are players. So the kind of incentive mechanism the central bank, the regulator will put in place, they will respond. Okay, because it's part of the business landscape and all that. So a lot will come from the central bank. And I think the central bank will also have to guide them and all of that. At this stage, some of them are also trying to find their level within the space. So a lot will come from all over the world. When it comes to money, regulation is important. In fact, there's a reason why the banking sector is highly regulated. You know, sometimes there's a saying that you get to know whether siblings love each other when it comes to sharing an inheritance, right? So for somebody to leave his money in the bank and go home and sleep soundly, he must have trust in the system. And the issue about trust is that when it is there, its value is lower. The value of trust becomes more obvious in its absence. And that's why you should never allow it to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so when everything is working well, sometimes we take things for granted. But when something happens, then you get to know that, oh, we've missed it and all of that. So I think that we have an economy to build. And if you look at the role of digitization, financial inclusion and all of that, the gains are so big that whatever investment we need to make, whatever synergies we need to build, and this time around, we are not just talking about regulation in silos. We have moved beyond regulation in silos. So the central bank is not looking at it that this is fintechs, this is this. The central bank has a clear plan, and I think I can commend them. It's not something I do regularly, right?
Thank you for that.
It's not something I do regularly, but they have a value chain approach. So they are looking at across the layers. And I think that is also helping.
Yeah.
And the approach they've adopted that I'm happy with is that the central bank is not just looking at regulation as a hammer and treating everything else as a nail. They want to grow the digital economy. Right. They want to facilitate. Okay, and for me, when the issue about separating MTN from and the signal they send, I felt that yes, this is it, because that is where we see the future and all of that.
Yeah.
But
and I want to now bring my audience into the conversation. Many of you have questions. We'll come to that. I'll come to the first one, but I want to go to Stephen to give me his thoughts. Cybersecurity Authority. Let's talk about infrastructure. Fragmentation won't help with it in terms of building an ecosystem that helps you help them fix the problem. Which approach would you most probably support? One where everybody's on the same page, or one where, if you like, just by the nature of their differences, you can't regulate all of them at the same level, or you should want everybody put at the same pedestal? Which, in terms of the cybersecurity approach to solving this problem, what will you recommend?
Okay, so how we are looking at it is, you are looking at it from, you can say we are looking at it from a risk perspective. So the overall risk for this sector is that the sector is critical.
So you're not looking at banks and fintechs, you're looking at all of them together.
So this whole group, we call it banking and finance, is one of the 13 sectors that we consider critical to Ghana's national security and socio-economic well-being. So that's why we call them critical infrastructure. And so from that perspective, what we've adopted also is that we don't attempt to centralize cybersecurity at the level of the authority. What we've done, you've heard Oreku mention 2-3 times, fix off. What we've done is, for each of these critical sectors, we've identified a key regulator. In the case of banking and finance is BOG, and given them some delegated authority that says, for this sector, you are responsible for coordinating with us, cybersecurity. And when you get into that space, what we've also then gone to agree with them is, look, you started with banks, commercial banks, probably the most mature. In fact, across the whole ecosystem, banks are upmost in terms of investment in cybersecurity, CDR, compliance with international standards, and the like. I said, well, you've got this experience, you've got this know-how. We want you to lead, hold the hands of the other guys, and bring them in. So FICSOC started with banks. Now we are stretching it out. We're going to look at savings and loans.
You play a role in the FICSOC?
Yes. Okay. So from a technical standpoint, they coordinate with us in terms of incident response.
Okay.
They report to us in terms of what's happening there, maturity assessments, audits. They feed back to us. Because per the law, we are responsible for cybersecurity for the entire country. But we are doing it in a, let's call it a decentralized fashion. We're not attempting to hold everything as a we call the shots. We are leveraging their expertise, their understanding of the industry, and then overlaying the cybersecurity responsibility to that. So if banks are fine, now let's go to fintech. Let's go to savings and loans.
Are the banks fine?
Largely. Relatively. Okay. They are the mature ones. So that's the approach. So what is happening now with his colleagues in the cyber directorate, what we are doing now is now engaging even insurance, the insurance sector, savings and loans. Okay. We know you may not be able to do the kind of certifications that John and his guys have done. Yeah. But there are certain basic things you should start with. So, for example, we have what we call the Directive for the Protection of Critical Information Infrastructure. It sets out a minimum baseline that anybody doing anything digital should start out with. It's okay, let's start with that one. Get that level, log into the FICSOC. The FICSOC has tools that you may not be able to buy by yourself, but the central bank has invested in the tools. All they need is additional licenses to take care of fintechs. Log into that. They can start watching your systems for you. They can start giving you advisories. They can start helping you respond to something happening within your systems. And so that graduated and distributed approach is what we are adopting. And then also understanding that cybersecurity is a journey. It's not something, we will not get to
a destination.
And like you said, Spain, we've won the World Cup. It won't happen. Okay. We have to keep adapting as we go. And the game is played as a team.
Right. And I keep hearing that.
It cannot be done by one person.
Keep hearing that.
And so if one more structure we have when we elevate the conversation to national level, is what we call the Joint Cybersecurity Committee, the JCC.
Who's on that?
So you have the BOGs there. You've got security, the financial intelligence. You've got EOCO. You've got CID. You've got national security elements. Even the military are there. 18 institutions with the CSA as the chair. The idea is all these institutions touch on cybersecurity in some shape or fashion. So rather than maybe BOGs left alone chasing certain policies and maybe EOCO chasing something, at that table, we can all talk everything cyber. So for example, we've talked about fraud. In our national strategy, there's something about doing a fraud detection system. So that conversation down means all these people need to be there and say, okay, well, we agree fraud is an issue. All of us are players. EOCO, you can do this. BOG, you can bring this set of data in. You can control or manage this set of people. So at that level, at that national level, we are already moving everybody in that direction. But when it comes to the implementation, we can use people like BOG, we can use the EOCOs, we can use the FICs to do it. So you have that broad architecture, we call it our institutional framework.
Out to I want to get our audiences involved. Reina has a question on FICSOC, incidentally. Reina, please, let's hear your question. And I think it's a very fundamental question. Reina from, please let's give microphone to Reina quickly.
Yes, thank you for the rich conversation we've had this evening. I just wanted to find out, is there a clear, defined timeline on when you intend to roll out FinTalk to all the other
players in the industry?
Players in the industry, exactly.
Very important question. Timelines. Because everybody has agreed that's a solution. And Nana Usumafo with Haptel. Please stand so that we could see you in short. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Evans. My question will be very simple. You know, earlier on, Oreku made a fun statement, or rather, let me say a very bold statement about the fact that if we have to fix the fraud issues, then maybe we'll have to do 5-factor authentication, right? And that probably could have solved John 67 CD scam. But yeah, so, and all the panelists have tried to answer this question in some ways, but I think we'll have to reiterate this some more. And the question is that, how do we ensure that in tackling this fraud, we are not unnecessarily creating a friction, that friction where it becomes very difficult for people to partake in the digital transactions, and then the transactions become very restrictive, such that people will now think that then I have to keep the cash, right, instead of putting my cash digitally. Thank you.
Okay. Very, very important. I also have Mimi Sapon, student from the University of Ghana. Hello, Mimi. Mimi, please. Yes.
Thank you. I've also really enjoyed the conversation so far. So my question is, so far we've spoken about, the panelists, have spoken about bigger institutions, financial institutions like Bank of Ghana and FinTech. But what about the smaller businesses? Because social media has made it so easy for you to access businesses on Instagram and Snapchat. So how can we prevent them from also scamming us? Is it that we are going to get the 5-step verification code? What are we going to do to stop them from defrauding us? And also, how are we...
As businesses defrauding customers?
Yes. And also, as a business owner, how are you going to stop customers from maybe sending you fake alerts and etc.
That's a very. I'll let my guests take the 3, and I'll come back. Oreku, please address the timeline. The timeline.
You know, he's the owner of Starbucks. but let me just
so attempt an answer, and I'll also
let me just provide a timeline. We've actually started work on onboarding the fintechs on the fixed stock, and within a year from now, maybe mid next year, we should be able to. We can confidently say that we are done onboarding all the fintechs, and I'm sure savings and loans as well. Because you see, we can't deal with this in silos. Yeah. It had to be done holistically. And most importantly, when the issue comes up, how do you respond to it? So it has to be done from end to end. We've talked about it taking a number of days for maybe cybersecurity to respond. We don't want to get to a situation where somebody calls and say that I've been defrauded or I've been attacked. Okay? Her business, you've been attacked. How many minutes or days or months will it take for us to be able to respond? So I think we need to make sure that we juxtapose all these things together with some of these times, because we don't want to just say that, we can, trust me, I think we've covered, in terms of onboarding the fintechs, we've covered over 80%. Okay. But how do we turn it on in such a way that it's holistic?
Okay, Stephen, understand? Timelines. That's it.
You're pretty much playing toward our beat in terms of that. And basically, I think a lot of the effort has been around engaging. So if you take, for example, savings and loans and insurance, they have their own regulators. And so it could not just be you just go in and start pulling their people in. There had to be some stakeholder engagements, understanding of what's the vision. Why do you want to bring my regulatees onto this platform? So that's what has taken the time. And so when we initially wrote to BOG to start this process, we wrote at the time last year, we said 1 year. And then eventually, after going 2-3 months, we came back and started and realized that it wasn't realistic.
You're rushing it
because of these and this kind of bottlenecks.
When will you finish enrolling the fintechs?
So, like I said, a year by now, we should be at a point where we can say
everybody's on 100%.
We've got them on. You can see what they are doing. We can respond to incidents faster than we are today.
Okay. Are the fintechs all ready to join? No issues there. Eben and Gordon, just want
to. There's no issue there. Yeah. I've seen emails between my InfoSec team communicating with the team from BOG, and work has started ongoing. So
there's no issue.
There's no issue there.
About money fintech.
I mean, there's everything to go around quickly there.
The benefit is there.
Okay, there was another question that Owusu asked about, balancing fraud prevention against making the thing slow that then puts people off. That is a very good balance that must be struck. And I think Oreku mentioned that. Anybody want to attack that for me? Because that is a balance that we must.
It is very difficult, and it's something that will be a continuous process as to where you place convenience vis-a-vis security, right? The two. You don't want to push it higher on the security side where it will be 5 steps authentication, and then the person gets frustrated. You don't also want to just make it so based on convenience you can do anything, and there'll be the same people being defrauded, and you lose trust. So it's a balance we continuously keep, finding to see where to place it. Recently, we added another step to using our mobile money app for transaction. So apart from your PIN, you have an OTP, and then you have an additional approval to give if you need to add another device to it. What happens is that a lot of times the fraudsters will take over your account by taking over it from your app, right? So if you have the app on this device and another device is coming through, then you have a prompt to say, I am approving for this second device to be added because it is my own device. But I can tell you, even at that point, the person will give the PIN, will give the OTP, and then when the approval for the person to add a secondary device, which is not his device or her device, he will approve it.
Wow.
And then the fraudster take over. So it is a balancing thing we'll keep doing and see where it is satisfactory to the customer, and then it is also okay for you to know that at least you are protecting them.
Eben, there's that third question about businesses, because you deal with a lot of merchants.
Right.
So it would be good to answer that question, the last question that came about. What about the businesses? What about the small businesses who are either defrauding their customers and they themselves are at the receiving end of fraud?
Okay, so Evans, when it comes to those Instagram businesses, what's happening is they've not come to the mainstream of operations, like integrating with a payment platform where we do straight KYC checks, where we do proper onboarding, verification of the business owner, or because they know the motive or what they actually want to do. They don't go through that whole process of integrating with a PSP or going for a merchant SIM. So what they do then is to use their personal phone numbers to do what? To accept money from their customers. So what usually I advise people is, if you are paying to a business online, it's either the business name tallies with the Momo number you are paying to. If you are paying to a business, that business will have gone through a proper KYC. So in case there's any fraud and you report to the mobile money issue, it being Telecel Cash, MTN mobile money, they will be able to trace to say, this is the person that registered this business account. If you come to a PSP, where we don't provide wallet, but we provide a virtual account for you to be able to operate, we are also obliged to go through proper KYC. So when you pay to a business and you come to us that I paid to this business, quickly we'll say, okay, we can confidently refund you and then tackle it with the business that came to onboard because we know the person behind the account. But if you go to Instagram, pick a number, communicate with the person, then try to pay to the person, then you are doing that at your own risk. What you have to then do is to do all the necessary authentication you, the person, have to do yourself to say, okay, I'm talking to Evans, I have checked, maybe send me your Ghana card, send me this, to prove that the person you are paying to is the actual. So just within the week, in fact, that was, I think, the final day when they were playing the World Cup final. Okay. And wifey was like, Eben, won't you go and buy this? Just right when the match was about to start. I'm like, wow. And I went to Boots. There's the shop where we usually buy is not on Boots. I went to Haftel, it's not on Haftel. I'm like, so I have to leave about 45 minutes, first half of the match. I quickly went online to check whether I can order from the shop direct. So as part of the communication, every step, he was taking pictures to show me what he's, like this is the package, we package it, the rider is here. Okay, I say, okay, can I pay now? where's your Momo number? He took a screenshot of the business name sent to me. Before I did what I paid, because of the risk consciousness or how.
Yeah.
So you just have to be very much aware of whoever you are dealing with.
Okay.
If you are paying to Evans and something happens, it's between you and Evans.
Yeah. I want to take more. Crispin from Radio Universal has a question. Crispin sits here. And I also take Esther. Esther number 4 is a national service person and also has a question. Yes, Crispin. Yes, please go.
I'm speaking from a student's point of view, right? We say we can't tackle digital fraud entirely. So, and these fraudsters, they are making use of AI, to host the site. They use AI to even create the front end, everything, and then host the site. And then you go there to buy things, as a student, you go to this site to order for stuffs, and then you are being scammed. So what is Ghana also doing to, go head to head with these fraudsters that also making use of AI to do sophisticated frauds? I call it sophisticated frauds.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you'll take that for me when I come. Yes, I have Esther.
So I have 2 questions. I'll do it briefly. So the first one, based on some speculations, we hear that some employees in the fintechs go behind bars, to call the customers or consumers and say, oh, this is MTN, blah, 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 and then they want to fraud the consumers. Over the years, have you been able to identify some of these things or even verify whether it is true indeed that some people who work there also do that? And then secondly, I've seen quite a number of advertisements on billboards and all of that talking about not sharing your pain and all of those things. But for people who might not be too observant to take notice of all of these things, have we considered leveraging social media or even community engagement so that lay people who might not necessarily be, the thinking at the level we do,
very important. Are we taking the message to the communities,
right,
to the villages, and holding debates and directly engaging people there, right? That's the point you're making. Very good. 3 questions. I also take Edward. Edward is with Techiman VRA. He's watching from home and sent this question in. And Edward, thank you for sending this one. He says, is it safe for one to link his Ghana card and his bank accounts and mobile money account all together? And he's asking because these fraudsters once got into his Momo account and then managed to also go through his 4 different bank accounts and withdrew everything he had in there. After contacting MTN, how this happened, the response was that it is because they got access to his Ghana card and eventually all his accounts popped up and they had access to his money. So how safe is it linking one's Ghana card to his Momo and bank accounts? That's a very interesting question. So what do you want to attempt that?
He must have. It's not. He was not defrauded because he linked the Ghana card to a Momo to a bank account. No, he was defrauded because there was some compromise somewhere. He has not told us the full story. He must have keyed a pin somewhere. He must have given some credential to somebody somewhere, which is not in the question that has been asked. But merely linking properly through the right channels, your bank account and your wallet to your Ghana. Actually, you are supposed to link
it.
Your Ghana card to your bank account as a requirement, so that when you go to the bank, they are able to verify you for transaction purposes. So that alone should not create risk for you. And we have gone on air, many times to clarify how people are supposed to do this. Do not click on links you are not familiar with. If in doubt, just walk to the nearest branch and have that done. So that should not introduce that risk. I think the lady asked another question on
the engagement.
The engagement.
Is it engagement reaching the people in the community?
So if you have
beyond
watched,
radio and television,
as we speak, from the association from Friday to the day after tomorrow, the banks, we are in Kumasi, we are doing community outreach. Last 2 weeks we were in Tamale. We are going across the country. We are going to communities, the mosques, the churches, the markets. We are on radio, we are on TV, we are on social media. We are going all out. It's every platform. So we have the popular bloggers, we are using influencers, we are doing everything to get the message to everyone wherever they find themselves in different languages. So we have in all the major languages in the country. So we are doing everything. It is for people to take the message and do something with the message. It's very easy to have that thinking or self-fulfilling thinking that I'm okay. Nobody is okay. When even you have heard before and a similar message comes, just it's a minute or less. Listen and then take it in your stride and then be guided by
Prof, you have something to say?
So, the traditional Western idea of market, financial market, is not for ignorant people.
Yeah.
It's not for ignorant people. So there's a saying in finance that every financial market participant ought to meet some minimum financial literacy standard.
Yes.
That's the assumption that we work towards. Okay, so because it's not for ignorant people and all of that. So the idea is that the issue I see here is that sometimes we see an issue and then we leverage on that to reach out to the people. But I think we should have an integrated approach.
Yeah.
Right from kindergarten or so, financial literacy, because these days we are saying that you can be educated, but if you are digitally illiterate, you'll be successfully unemployed.
I like that.
Okay, so if we had that approach, then the idea is that, for instance, occasionally you may see financial literacy week, maybe the regulator announcing and all of that, but I think we should coordinate it. We have a common enemy that we have to deal with and all of that. And the way we dish out the information must be reinforcing, right? So that some frequently asked questions and all of that. And then there was a point that she also made. It's easier to find people online today than in physical locations.
Yeah.
Right. So we should also follow that trend in terms of how we reach people with information.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so it's good to invest in physical contact and all of that, but sometimes people may be sitting here and they're actually present online. Right. It's just their body you see physically here, right? And all of that. So we can adopt all those ones and then so that we'll be able to, and then I agree, among students, even in the secondary schools and the rest of them. So let's find more innovative ways of reaching out to them.
There's another question
so
about pollution from within.
Yeah.
And I think you asked that question. And I want to go to you, Godwin. How big...
And there's data to support that, right?
Yeah.
The Bank of Ghana's
report. The Bank of Ghana, yes. But I think we've explored a lot of that with the banks. Yeah. Pollution from within. What about the fintechs? I think the fintechs one is what you mentioned.
Yeah. The perception is there. I've been a fraudster from day one. Like, I'm calling from MTN. My name is Godwin Kwame Tamaklo.
Immediately.
And that's it, because you come out to talk about, fraud. So people get to know you. I did some work in 2019 within the Asin Fosu areas with some colleagues from Fidelity Bank, financial crime team. And it was shocking. You have people moving, young guys, moving from the Western region, Central region, Ashanti region, Greater Accra region, the Northern region, and they gather there in a bush somewhere with tents. They set up and they run in shifts.
Wow.
So some come from Sunday, Tuesday, you have Tuesday to Thursday, you have Thursday into Saturday, like that. And you have one group that use Excel, macro, just to generate numbers. Right? 0244, blah, 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 and then they run it down. And that is moved to another group who will now start looking for the names if those numbers are registered on mobile money. So that is their work when they come. They'll just start 170 or whatever, go through the process and try as if they are sending some money to the person, and pop, your name comes up. So you see Godwin Kwame Tamaklo, they write it down. Then it goes to another group who now try to be sending, cash out prompt. Recently here we've shut down.
Is it the POS?
Yes. So like our agent SIM card, they try to do a cash out. Maybe they will try 1,000 to you. When they receive insufficient funds, they come down to maybe 900, 890, 800. So they'll be doing that. When the transaction goes and they don't get any feedback, then they know you have roughly, maybe they triggered 800 Ghana cedis. You have 810 in your wallet. And then the transaction went through and they didn't receive any feedback that you have insufficient funds. So roughly they know this guy will be having like 800 Ghana cedis there. They write it down. Then it goes to another group who now develop the SMSs to be sent to you, right? So before a call comes to you as the target, they've worked on your number for like about 2-3 days. And when they mention your name, Evans, who in Ghana, if you mention somebody's full name, the thought is that the person knows me very well. You lose your guard.
Yeah.
Because once you know somebody, you don't think that that person is coming to defraud you. Compared to a Nigerian, even if you mention his full name, there are some, thought around who is this person. So then, so that process is there. So before they call you, that person is well informed your balance. So you receive an SMS and it's like 830 Ghana cedis. They say, I sent you 30 Ghana cedis. Your balance is, and these are fake SMSs. And in your mind, you had like 800 and something in your wallet. So how did they guess my balance? That they said they sent me 30 Ghana cedis and truly my balance is around. It's because it's been worked on for like 3-4 days before they call. So the perception is there that, and we have your numbers and your account. So if somebody is able to get the number to call me, it is, mobile money.
But it's also true that sometimes they are insider. It's that insider.
Giving your number out for somebody to call you.
It's possible, is it not?
I don't think that is possible.
Or people from inside may collude with.
There might be other fraud typology that an internal person might collude compared to just giving a phone number for another person to call and then now trying to, defraud. Yeah.
Okay. And quickly, because of time, on the question about from the student, the fraudsters are now deploying AI tools, technology, invested in technology, right? I guess it's to match them. They can always be ahead of the curve. Very briefly in a minute, what's the Cybersecurity Authority do about it?
In short, we are also exploring defensive tools that also leverage AI. Because AI is, technology in general is neutral. It's who is using it that matters. So if they are using it, as we call the red team, on the defense side, we are the blue team. We are also exploring pattern matching, machine learning, correlate cases, correlate numbers that have been reported to us in terms of fraud, and that kind of thing. So we are also finding ways and means to use that. Just to touch very quickly also on her capacity build or awareness creation, something we also do. I'm happy to hear what the banking group is doing. Something we're also doing, we're also working on getting some regional offices. So far, we've always been in Greater Accra.
We want to decentralize.
Decentralize. So Volta, the North, Central, and Western, they have been picked strategically because, like he just mentioned with his example, some of the crime syndicates we pick up when we do our investigations are clustered around these places. So we are taking the awareness there. On a monthly basis, we are sending alerts out based on the patterns we are seeing from the reports we get to our short code 292. And so we are using all that.
Short code again as well.
292. So you can call us, you can send an SMS to that number. So that threat intelligence has also informed how we've picked the regional offices, and all things being equal, by end of the year, they should be operational to support on the ground awareness creation, taking it to the local language for people to be aware of how to keep themselves
safe. 2 quick final questions. We have Richard Yao from UPSA. Yes, Richard. And then I'll take Lois from University of Professional Studies. Yes. Richard, very brief.
Thank you very much. My question has to do with, we believe or we know that digital learning has improved financial inclusion. However, it has also created a platform where we have loan apps using that means to defraud people when it comes to increased interest rates, aggressive means of recovering their loans. I want to find out, does Ghana currently have a regulation or regulatory framework that guides these loan apps or services? Okay. Or is it a high time that we have a framework that guides these loan apps or services online?
Thank you very much. And I'll take Lois. Lois?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity. Okay, so my question is that, is it confirmed that it is absolutely impossible to retrieve money lost through fraud, even if it's reported immediately, or depends on who it is reported to at that point in time? Thank you.
Very, very good question, because I always wonder if the money is lost, it's lost forever, and you retrieve it. And a final one from Courage is the Mobile Money Advocacy Group. And Courage, please, yes, you have a very good question about police.
Okay. So, with the agents, should we be defrauded and we report to the Ghana police, we realize they have no knowledge about what we are talking about? Because without your PIN, your money...
we need to fix the microphone. Sarah, please give him the other microphone so we can hear him, because that's a very important, because he's a Momo agent, right? You are, right?
Yes,
yes. And you represent that group too, yes.
Okay. So, with the Ghana police, should an agent be defrauded after calling 114 to report the account to be withheld? When you get to the police station, it's like what you are saying. In two ways, they think you are rather defrauding somebody. That's one. Two, if you try to explain deeper, they also get the notion that what you are saying is like, we also feel they don't understand what we are saying. Because personally, I'm a founder of Mobile Money Advocacy Group. I'm a founding father. And we have a lot of them. Currently, we are treating some of them, and we keep going in and out, and we realize that the CID handling the issue. Do they give them enough education to understand what is going on? Because I keep hearing cyber, and I realize that is just a system they are controlling. Those we meet physically, because we can't meet the system. Those we are meeting physically to tell them our problem. Do they understand it? Do they have that education? Because we normally have capacity building, both with the telco and both with the association and even with Bank of Ghana.
I think it's a very, very important question, and I want you to address it, because most people would go to a police station, and I know the police they also have a cyber security unit, correct?
They do. Right.
How do we address that point?
I think in short, we would have to just see how that awareness can be improved, because we do have relationships with the police. They are part of the JCC I mentioned before. And so if there's a gap in terms of the frontline officers in dealing with digital cases, it just means that, okay, well, maybe the cyber team may be doing their work, but the frontline officers may not have enough information.
At the police station level, that's the first contact.
So we need to just make sure that our awareness creation, our capacity building gets to that level. And like we've said,
the mobile service provider on whose platform it happened, do you call cybersecurity? Do you go to the police station?
It's
or do you go to BOG?
I think that's something we need to work out.
No, but let's address that, because we are ending. And that's it's very
I think you go to the provider. You call the provider.
Go to the provider.
The first point.
Provider.
Yeah. Because they need to be a way of maybe stopping the transaction from moving forward.
Yeah. Okay.
You may still have to go to police, but in order to cut the losses,
first contact
you need to provider or the bank or whoever, the PSP.
So in other words, if it's an MTN mobile money, I call you.
Yes.
Okay. If you're on a Hapital platform, I will call Hapital first.
So when it comes to the PSPs, we don't have the capacity to hold monies. For instance, when I come to Hapital and I transfer money to Mr. Ua, what is happening is that we just hit MTN, and MTN did the transaction on our behalf. So the best thing is to be able to also call MTN for them to help you with the transaction ID. If you call the PSP or the payment service provider, because we don't have the capability to hold balances or to hold the funds for you, we are now going to talk to, what is the name? Godwin. I'm now going to call Godwin in the middle of the night to say, Godwin, there's a transaction you need to help me hold. Yes, so the best thing is to get to the mobile money operators.
That's an interesting point.
But let me add to this. Someone asked a question about recovery of funds.
Funds, yeah, that's an important question.
The trend we've seen now is not basically mobile money. It's now they moving towards bank cards.
Explain that. Very brief, because we just have a minute to wrap up.
Yes. So most of the fraudsters now will call you pretending to be your bank. And then they find a way to check out with your bank card. At that point, mobile money will not even come in at all because they've logged in with their, you've done the KYC with their mobile, with the fraudster's phone number. They just need to reach out to you, talk to you about, I'm calling from Bank A, I'm trying to reset your bank account, the card on your account, can you give me the bank details? And then it's happening a lot. And if I don't raise it here, I think it will be a disservice to society. It's happening especially to our elderly, the pensioners who have bank accounts, and they've been given ATM cards, and they have no idea about how ATM cards work, apart from they going to the ATM to just take out cash.
You don't know that in itself can be used to make purchases?
Yes. So your card, what we call something the 3D secure, that's the level of authentication, just like mobile money. When you are transacting, you have to enter your PIN. The last level of authentication is the 3D secure, where you have to also enter a number that will be sent to the bank, the number that was provided to your bank, or an email address that you provided to your bank. At that point, when you share that, any money they enter will go through. Because
but the question about if your money is lost, can you retrieve it
so
generally?
That's why I brought that as an example, so that I take it from there. So with bank card, there are rules governing that when it comes to recovery. So for instance, if you have a genuine case that I misplaced my card, someone pick it up, and I didn't share any information, when you report to your bank, there's something we call chargeback. Just walk to your bank and file for chargeback with all the necessary information. The banks will do their checks, and if genuinely you didn't perform the transaction, they'll reverse the transaction, and then the PSP or whoever processed that transaction will bear the liability. So if it's a bank card, you can get your money back.
And what about Momo if
But when it's mobile money,
it depends, right? So it depends. It depends in the sense that most of the times people will be calling the one who defrauded them, trying to see Famisi Kamami back. The timing is so critical for you to call. If you call within the first 5 minutes of the incident, there is about 85% probability that will be able to block the money from being cashed out or moved to other places. Most of the times they now buy crypto and then they move it elsewhere. But most times you will see the victims trying to call the fraudster to say, give me my money back, and by the time you realize it's gone. Now, if we find out that maybe the problem has to do with maybe our systems for a reason or two, or a process, then there will be a refund to the customer, even if the customer has lost, the money. So if it is not the customer compromising his or her PIN and all those kind of things, then there will be a refund directly to the customer. Other than that, then we wait till we arrest
the person. Very interesting indeed. And by the way, I want to come back to everybody about the single for you after an end. What is the single most important intervention that would go a long way to sort of addressing this? And I'll start. Now, everybody has 30 seconds to sort of hit your bullet. A key point for me. Prof, I'll start with you.
I'll look at it from end users. Public education, financial literacy. We need to intensify that so that whilst they put in place their systems and all of that, I think the end user must also scale up and be digitally more aware and to be able to also manage the risk involved, because this is risk that the only way you can manage it, maybe you say you are avoiding it, but that is not the way to go. So we all must have our own risk management systems in place, both as end users, whilst they also do their part.
Okay. Sorry?
The investment into new technologies, more behavioral based device intelligence, than the rule-based technology we have today, because what we are fighting is more behavioral. So to be able to have systems that will trigger and prevent than even detecting and correcting, that I believe would also help. At the middle of that is the issue of data, KYC, validation of it. We didn't have a discussion around it, but that is something also we need to look at going into.
John?
Yeah, social media is good, but we need to be very careful the way we use social media. There are some people whose entire life is on social media. And if we are talking about the problem being mostly social engineering, it is what the person knows about you. Right. So, I'm going for Akuya's wedding. Somebody knows you are going for wedding. So when they call you, they will write on the back, Akuya, the wedding, I'm meeting at the wedding, Akuya's wedding, and this has happened, and all of a sudden, you become so relatable. And then they write on the back of that, and they get to you. So be careful what to throw out on social media. Personal information, when people are traveling at the airport, it's on, even the flight path is on social media. And we need to be very careful about that. Because once we do that, we are endangering our financial security. And we need to be careful. And the next one is intelligence sharing. If we don't share intelligence, one fraud in one institution will repeat and repeat and repeat. As banks, we are doing a lot in that area because we have a platform. As soon as it happens, it's put on the platform. Every bank is aware. And then quickly, if you don't have a patch, you run a patch, and then you close the loop. So we need to now move into an ecosystem. But the fraudsters know that if I defraud on maybe a Momo platform, and I'm able to move quickly to a bank platform, even the change and the callback alone, immediately I can have access to my money. So as players, we need to also share a lot of intelligence.
Yeah, so as Mr. Awa just said, I always use this analogy of as we sit individually like this, attacking us is very easy. But if I'm sitting with Mr. Oreku, someone approaching us, I can easily prompt him that there's this guy approaching us. So I'm looking at a stage where the industry has this common API, just like when we are going for loan, there's this API, which is the SDS data. They just quickly check and say, Eben has taken loan from Bank A. So he's exhausted his limit. We can't give him that loan. Why is it that we don't have that API to just hit anybody and say, has this number perpetrated fraud on any system before? We don't have that as it's like all about
think it's all integrated into one.
So what is happening is the fraud has happened within the banking industry. Haptel doesn't know about it, and that same person will come to Haptel, come and transact and defraud someone and move to another platform. Where is that common API?
That's technology.
Yes,
that's technology.
Just information sharing through API. Because if we try to take it out of API or the technology, then we are ceasing to, as someone asked, the user experience. We are trying to now frustrate users. But if we have that, where you can just quickly one API call and you can know
see quickly what's happening across
within the industry.
So for me, we've all agreed that trust is a currency which we need to really protect. And the fight towards preventing fraud is not an event, it's a journey. So what we really need to start working towards to make sure that that level of restoration, because it will happen to you, it will happen to Stephen. If we need that confidence, that trust to still be to be well protected, if it happens, that level of restoration should be immediate. Outside, when you call your bank that you've been defrauded, the questions are minimal. They credit you and they deal with the investigations. So I think we need to get to the point where that level of restoration is almost immediate, so that at least we can protect the trust.
And Stephen, finally?
Well, I think mine will be a summary of it. The trust we're trying to protect for the ecosystem has two sides: secure technology and informed citizens. We can't do one without the other. We need both.
Ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause for ourselves. And that's it for the mini edition. And thank you, Godwin. Thank you, Stephen, too. Thank you, Oreku. You've had Professor Bokpin, too, who joined us, and John Iwa also joined, and Eben with Haptel. And it's been very insightful indeed. We're going to put all this together in a way that you can track the proposals that have been made. And I think for me, the overriding one is an industry-wide approach where everybody comes together on one platform to deal with this together. And I think there's a commitment around the table that the fintechs will join the fintech, and then they'll all form an association with one head that coordinates with the banking sector, that arbitrage will be reduced, everybody on the same platform to deal with this. And we're going to be following up to see how this happened. The timelines I've been giving is up to us to follow through with them. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Tee up someone in red, and it goes to
That's who goal for. What's 5 Champions League? You want to know? I be the real goat. The left magician.